Hey guys, welcome back to Ancient Amnesia Podcast. This is your host, Josh, and I am back with kind of something new today. I wanted to do something a little more live stream and just kind of get you guys involved with the page on more of a real-time level. I hope you guys are enjoying everything we're doing. We got a lot of stuff on our plate. We're working with a lot of other radio artists and podcast content creators. So we have a lot of fun stuff in the future coming up. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys are enjoying the movement. Please let us know what you think, and if there's things that you want to have us cover. And there's just so much, and that's why what we wanted to do today is just kind of look over a little bit of what we've been posting very recently, and some of these articles that we've been posting. I think we should shed some light on and just do a quick read over. So the one we posted today, the history of skiing in Scandinavia, seems to be a fun topic. Most people think of skiing as a entertainment thing, and we don't really know exactly where the origins of skiing may have come from. It's obvious that living in snowy environments would make people get creative and try to come up with ways to move around and make their life a little easier. So this article was posted by the Dockyards, a site that we've been going to recently. Has some good stuff. Please visit. And they say that skiing is a very popular sport in the mountain regions of the world nowadays. It's practiced by amateurs professionally, but it must be mentioned that it was not intended for sport at the very beginning of its creation. Today we know from archaeological findings and historical research that skis were initially used in mankind's early history as a very convenient means of transportation rather than being a part of leisure activity. And then this is a depiction by Danish artist K. Rumus Nielsen in 1914 that came from the book East of the Sun and West of the Moon. And it's a part of the Norwegian folklore. And it's showing here the oldest skis that have been discovered thus far unearthed in contemporary Russia near Lake Isindor. These ancient artifacts were dated to 6,300 BC. However, paintings discovered in the Altaic region of modern-day China also suggest that skiing, or a sport quite similar to it, was already practiced about 10,000 years ago. If you guys know us and if you follow our work, we obviously hold the belief that we've been here for a long time. And so when you see these dates, it's just good to remember the stuff could be pushed really far back. The best thing to take from this is that there's nothing new under the sun, and that a lot of these technologies that seem to be modern have their origins way back in time. And we suspect that we will find more of this older and older stuff as we keep digging. So in the Scandinavian peninsula, the earliest evidence of skiing consists of a 5,000-year-old rock carving depicting a skier with one pole, which could be found in the municipality of Rodøy, pertaining to a Nordland county in the north of the country. One of the most internationally illustrative examples of Norwegian culture, this rock carving was unfortunately intentionally damaged in 2016. It's unfortunate. The most verdict discovery of a pair of skis could be mapped to a Jämtland county, Sweden, and was dated at 2500 BC. Other significantly ancient skis found in Scandinavia include those near another town called Kalfstrask, and in 1924 they were dated at 3300 BC. So we have found multiple of these things, and we know that this stuff existed. So it's kind of interesting to think about how they would be used, and obviously there'd be some hunting done by these, as you can see in this particular illustration. Obviously with spear or some kind of bow, I assume. The Norsemen used skis during the Viking Age as well. Skiing was a very significant means of travel and transportation in contemporary Norway and Sweden throughout the Middle Ages. The skiing was not solely used for the needs of travel or transportation, as hunting and recreation were equally quite representative. In fact, in Norse mythology, there is even a god for skiing, which is known as Olr. And additionally, both Olr and Norse goddess Skadi were described hunting on skis, which clearly highlights the importance of these tools during the Viking era. So very fascinating, beautiful painting here by painter Nud Burlstein, called The Royal Child. Skiing birch legs crossing the mountain with the royal child. Beautiful painting, something we should actually post up for you guys to get a better look at. And then we know that in the 13th century, a civil war broke out in medieval Norway, and that skis played a pivotal part in the future of the Norwegian monarchy. Briefly, the Birkebeins, or birch legs in English, were initially formed in Norway in the late 12th century as a rebellious movement against King Magnus Erlsson and his father Erling Skaking. Excuse the translations, I'm sure I'm doing horrible. Nowadays, they are recalled and celebrated for saving the life of Hakon IV Håkonsson during his early childhood by escorting him safely from the Limur to Australdalen, and then finally to Trondheim, facing a dangerous adventure. The deeds of these birch legs were subsequently made to a Norwegian film entitled The Last King. So check that out as well. We thought this was cool. This is just kind of showing you guys that we do have a history of some of these things going way back up to 10,000 years. Just shows that humankind has really been cranking out a lot of technology since the beginning. We hope you enjoyed this. We're also going to scan over now and bring up an article that we then posted earlier today showing that proof that the ancient Greeks migrated to Polynesia. This is great. This is coming from Greek Asia Blogspot. Please check them out. The Greeks are interesting. We've covered this in the Atlantean podcast shows that we've done with other guests, but there seems to be a kind of a traceable line of Greek culture that goes back, and it kind of blends into other Mediterranean cultures. So we know that we have these Phoenician types, these Minoans, and they all seem to have a similar origin point of culture at some point, and we suspect that this is kind of a pre-Diluvian civilization. And I think that Greece has been said in some lore to have interacted and fought with Atlantis, in which Atlantis tried at last to come and conquer the Mediterranean and was unable to because Greek had stopped them. So this would put them back pretty far in time, and this is just evidence kind of pointing in that direction. It starts by saying there are many elements of ancient world history that are unknown to us because information has been lost or has been intentionally hidden from us. And that's true. I mean, we go further back and further back, and cataclysms and cultural wars happen that completely obliterate. We don't know a lot about Etruscan history. We don't know about Carthaginian history because the Romans just completely destroyed what was before them. So what we're finding is very, very little small pieces. And they're saying, according to some historians, less than 5% of all ancient Greek writings survive and is available to us. So just imagine what we know of Greece. Anytime you take a college course on Greece or you read all the books on Greece, you're talking about 5% of ancient Greek writings is where we're pulling that information from. So there's a lot to be revealed when we look into this. So it is by no means a closed book. Professor Norse Josephson provides us with an 8-year-long linguistic study that proves the connection between ancient Greeks and a number of Polynesian civilizations. And this is an interesting mix. He traveled to Polynesia and gathered many dictionaries and word list of Polynesian languages, as he was curious to discover why local languages include words of non-Polynesian origin. Manly P. Hall has actually covered some of this as well, where he mentions that there were some words that a Cherokee chief had known that was a Hebrew. And so there seems to be this global connection. Again, this all kind of points to some ancient cataclysm and dispersal of human culture. And we also see this a little bit in the Mayan mythology and how it mixes with some of the European languages and etymologies. So in his book, Greek Linguistics in the Polynesian Languages, the professor provides solid proof of the connection between ancient Greeks and Polynesian civilizations. He studied a number of Polynesian languages, and he was able to find concordances with Greek in the following language listed in order from highest to lowest total concordances. So there they are, quite a lot of them. And language is a good way to try to find some similarities and some cultural integration, because language can be so diverse and it's something that has to have some similarities to it if there was some kind of connection. So if you see a lot of connections, it's strong evidence. And as you can see here, some Greek words and their Polynesian derivatives and meanings from Josephson's study are pretty compelling. So quite a bit of them that are relatively close. Go check it out. I thought that was really interesting. We need to look more into this. This is something we hope to cover more in other podcasts. So please check it out. It is at GreekAsiaBlogspot.com. It's on our website and on our page. So please click, please share. Something sciencey. We always like to shake it up. We've posted this. We had a podcast called the Laniakea, which is essentially this cluster of galaxies that is called the supercluster, and that's what it makes this name they call Laniakea, which is a massive part of the knowable visible universe. And one thing in that podcast that we talked about was that it seems like all of these galaxies are being pulled together by something called the Great Attractor. I find that very fascinating. So there's this unknown force that is so massive and powerful that it is pulling together galaxies that are in clusters. And if we were to actually try to conceptualize this size of these things, we would be pretty hard pressed to be able to even conceptualize this stuff. Is on scales that we really honestly can't even think of. But galaxies millions of light years away seem to be connected by an unseen network of massive intergalactic structures which force them to synchronize in ways that cannot be explained by existing astrophysics. The discoveries could force us to rethink our fundamental understanding of the universe. Guys, we're in the dark. We don't really know what's going on out there. The observed coherence must have some relationship with large-scale structures, because it is impossible that the galaxies separated by 6 megaparsecs, which is roughly 20 million light years, directly interact with each other. Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute astronomer Hyop Lee told the site. There have been many instances of astronomers observing galaxies that seem to be connected and moving in sync with each other. A study by Lee, published in the Astrophysical Journal in October, found that hundreds of galaxies are rotating in exactly the same way, despite being millions of light years apart. In a separate study, published in the Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics in 2014, found that supermassive black holes aligning with each other, despite being billions of light years apart, was true. So there seems to be this spooky action. This kind of, to me, reminds me of what's going on in quantum physics as well, where you have something at great distances from each other seeming to react to a completely different particle. So there seems to be this kind of connectivity between all things, and as above, so below. So what we are seeing here is that this is not only on the quantum level, this is happening on these massive macro levels. And they're concluding that while current cosmological principles support the alignment and movement of ancient stars at a smaller scale, astronomers are puzzled by the much larger patterns across vast distances. And so they're just going to keep looking for data. That was a really quick kind of introduction to that. If you do like this topic, please go to our podcast on YouTube and find our Laniakea podcast, and we will go into the details of that structure and what it looks like, what's happening. So let's take it to Egypt. They are finding now, no surprises by us, scientists find the eternal Nile to be more ancient than previously thought. Published at the University of Texas in Austin. Physics.org bringing you the article. The Nile River, the longest river on Earth, flowing through Cairo, Egypt. Researchers at the University of Texas at Austin have discovered the source of the river's mysterious northward course deep in the Earth's mantle, and at the same time uncovered the age of the river. The ancient Egyptians considered the Nile River to be the source of all life. Steady northward path of the river has nourished the fertile valleys of northeast Africa for millions of years, and in doing so, shaped the course of human civilization. We all know the impact of ancient Egypt, and ancient Egypt is also one of those places that has an origin of mysterious nature. We don't really know. We know Robert Schoch has been doing some studies on the Sphinx, and it's looking like 10, 12 to 15,000 years old could be the possibility. So this could stretch really far back into an age in which actually the Earth's climate and weather was completely different. There was a lot of different, this would be the Pleistocene. So this would be, pretty much an entire different type of planet at that time. So this this is significant. The Nile's unchanging path, however, has been a geologic mystery because long-lived rivers usually move over time. Researchers at the University of Texas at Austin have cracked the case by linking the river's flow to the movement of rock in the Earth's deep mantle. In the course of their investigation, they found that the eternal river to be much older than anyone realized, with the scientists estimating the age of the Nile to be 30 million years old, 6 times as long as previously thought. So what does that say? If you have a river that could provide, water and security to civilization, that has currently monuments on it that stretch back 15,000 years ago, and within their own mythology, they stretch back their own culture further. And here we have evidence that this river's been there for over 30 million years. So again, as Graham Hancock likes to say, things are getting older. The research published in November 11th in the Journal of Nature Geoscience found that if it weren't for the mantle movement keeping the river on course, the Nile would have turned west long ago, probably changing the course of history along with it. One of the biggest questions about the Nile is when it originated and why it has persisted for so long. So they came up with a solution. The results should settle a long-running debate about the age of the river and provide evidence that the slow movement of the deep mantle is one of the key forces shaping our Earth's landscape and geological processes. The Earth's mantle is composed of solid rock that flows like a fluid over long periods. Like currents in an ocean, different areas of the mantle have different circulation patterns. The research team included scientists from Jackson School, and in the paper, the researchers connected the tilted nature of the Nile's topography to a conveyor belt of mantle rock pushing up against the Ethiopian highlands in the south and pulling the surface down in the north. From the beginning to end, the gentle gradient keeps the Nile on a constant northward course. So the Earth's mantle is under the Nile is actually what has kind of been tracking it and keeping it sustainable over eons of time. Very, very, very fascinating. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So new format. Hope you guys like this little quick run. It's just a way for us to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. Please go to our Facebook page and join the movement if you haven't already. We also have a discussion group. Please go there. And we will be back as soon as possible with some more fun stuff for you guys. Stay tuned. There's some stuff along the way that I think you're really going to be happy about. Please message us if you have any questions or you want us to cover a certain topic. So cheers, guys. We appreciate it. Have a good one.